So in this video, we'll be taking a look at a few different tools that exist within Photoshop that can help you build the different composition types that you're looking for. So let's go ahead and get inside of Photoshop and get started on this. First thing I'm going to do is show you the crop tool. So the first thing that we'll take a look at is the crop tool inside of Photoshop. So if you tap C or go right here to the crop tool, you can see that there are some settings on here, and it'll tell you the rules of thirds. Now if you drag this corner over just a little bit, you'll see those guides start to show up for you. So there's an automatic guide for that. They do have a grid. They also have a diagonal, triangle. I don't know how. They do have the golden ratio, so this is supposed to be their version of the rules of thirds within here. This golden spiral that you see here on this. Now the only thing I didn't know on here is how you could actually maybe drag this as far as a tool to flip this around on here, right, like this. Okay, to actually cycle through this, you hit Shift O like this, and that will put this into different quadrants that you see within here. So that might potentially be useful for you. So I'm just going to put this back to where I think the default was for this, and I'll go ahead and escape out of there. And so I think you've got quite a few different options within the crop tool to take a look at maybe rules of third or even this golden spiral that you see there. Now if you wanted to build your own guide that you have here, this is what I was doing. I'm going to go ahead and make a brand new layer, and I'll throw it up top here just so we can see it. Call this border like this. You can use the marquee tool and drag out a marquee. I am going to want to use this for the image like this. And if I was doing something like red, I can take the color picker that we have here, and you can see I've got it on color wheel right here like that. I think that's a pretty nice option to use for this. And what we can do is once we have a selection, we can go to edit and we can say stroke. Now we can stroke this on the center of this, and that'll push pixels on this side and this side, but this is the border, so we don't need that. We want to push inside. So we can do a width of, let's just say 12 pixels, and that's going to do a nice thick border for me, just like that. And again, if we were going to hit Control H, we can show our guides that we have in here. If we hit Control R, that'll bring out the ruler, and so you can click and drag out guides from here. What I think that I found that was pretty easy for this, if you drag a guide in the middle of your document, you should feel it kind of snap in this area like that. So that'll work through the center of the image if you want to do that. Now to get the thirds, again, we can go back to that crop tool. We could just push this over ever so slightly. And then let's go ahead and put this on the rules of thirds like this. And then you can see what we could do at that point is just drag out guides and put them roughly in the spot that we need to be for this right here. I'm going to take, I could take the old guides that we have in here and move them off, maybe not with that tool enacted. So I'll just wait until I make these guides and pull them out like this. Okay, so I'm going to go out of the crop tool. And then once I go out of there, I should be able to take those guides that we have here and then get rid of them. So I can just click and drag like that. So if I wanted to not grab that part, this, and then grab this and drag it off, that's how you can drag guides in and out like that. So that might work for you, right? So we've got this. Now I could do something like this, where I've got a couple different options. I can make another layer, so I might as well just keep that border, and maybe I call this like lines like this. Now we could do the same thing we did before, where maybe we drag a marquee like this and we stroke. We can go edit stroke, and then this time instead of doing inside, we could do the center like that, and that will give us a line here. Now it is going to give us box around here, but because we have a border, you're not really going to see that. So it's up to you how you want to do that. The other thing that we could potentially do is go use the line tool that they have on here and set it to line and set it to pixels. And then in weight, if we want to match that, we can put that at 12 pixels like this. And we can just click and then drag down this way like that. And then we can also follow this guide here. So I'll draw here, and I'll draw one here like this. And so that will be something we can do for the rules of thirds. I'm going to hit Control H, and I can hide those guides. If I want to bring them back, hit Control H like that. So that could come in handy for you. And then the next one that I would build is the circle. So we'll take a look at this one. So we got these concentric rings. Again, we can make a new layer. Okay. Like this. I'll hit Control H again, and then this time I will keep those lines right in the center of the document here. And if I drag down here, I should feel it snap somewhere in there. And then if I put it on the marquee tool, this one, the elliptical. So if I can hit Shift M, whenever I hit Shift M, that will actually cycle between the different tools that you have within here. So I'm going to put it on the circular tool and then click out from the middle and then hold down Alt. Looks like Alt and Shift together, and that will give me a circle that I can use on here for this. And then we could use the stroke tool. We could go edit and then go stroke like this, and then keep building some circles for ourselves. So I'll just again click and drag out from the center, holding down Alt and Shift. I'll do another ring, go edit stroke like this, build myself another one a little bit further, edit stroke like that, and I'll do one more, edit stroke like that. Okay, so that is on a layer. So we could tap V for the move tool, and we can click and drag this thing around. Now, it cut off my my canvas because I only drew it out so far. One thing that you could potentially do is draw this on maybe a larger canvas and then pull it in, and then you could use this as a template, and you could say this is where I want the center of focus to be on that. But I'll just go ahead and leave that at the center like that, and then go ahead and close that part up. And then I'll hide the guides for this. So next one we'll do is a triangle. Just go ahead and make a new layer, and just give this a name, and then we can put it on the Polygon tool that was right here as under line tools. So if you click and drag out, you can choose different tools within here. So you can go to the Polygon tool, and I think the default value for that is set to 5, and so you could drag out a shape like this for pentagon. So I'll hit undo, and I'll go back to that tool. We could put this at a 3 like this, and if we click and drag out, then it's going to give us a shape like that. So you can make a layer like this. If you tap V, you can put it on the move tool. You can place this where you want this to be. I'll go to another one, and maybe I'll just duplicate this and try that and move it off to the side. Now if I want it a little bit smaller, hit Control T, and I'm going to hold down, let's see, just Alt while I drag this out on the corner, and that will scale it down uniformly like this. So maybe I want these to be here, and then maybe I will go ahead and duplicate that again, just move it off to the side, and leave it something like this right in through here. From there, what I could do, I could keep those shapes, or I could hide them, and now I can hold down Control, and I'll hold down Shift with Control, and I can add to the selection here like this. And adding these, if I make a new layer, then I can go ahead and use the stroke, what we did before. We can go edit stroke, and we'll do a stroke in the center, 12 pixels like that. Now if I missed one of the corners of that, I could grab that from here, just holding down Control, grabbing the transparency of it, and then I'll go ahead and go edit stroke and do 12 pixels again just to fill this out. So I've got a triangle representation. Now this is sitting in front of here. If you wanted, you could not do that. hit Control Z to undo, and then maybe I wanted this larger one to feel like it's sitting in front, so I can go Edit, Stroke, like this, and now it feels like this one's sitting in front of that. So that's how you could maybe group all these together. I'm just going to hit Control G and group these together to make a triangle. Lines like that. And so we've got that. And then the next one we could do is radii. So let's just go ahead and make a new layer. Call this radii. Like that. So I think there's a few different ways that we could approach this. We could go put this back on the line tool. So click and drag out and go to the line tool like this. And depending on where you want the area of focus to be at, you could probably start from a point like this and then draw out. And we do already have this on the line tool with pixels, and we've got it set to 12. So we could just keep dragging out from that particular point. Now, if you wanted to make sure that you were always going to drag off from a particular point, you could hit Control H to bring back your guides, maybe make a guide and say, I want this to come off of, let's say, the nose of this character, like this. And then now I tap, let's see, what is the line tool? U. Tap U for that, and I can click and then drag out these lines that we see here. Okay, that's one way that we can do it. And I'll just finish out just a few more lines like this. I think that works rather well. Hit Control H to hide that. So something else that we can do, we could go ahead and put it on the Polygon tool, and under settings on here, if we did this freeform, I did a radius of 5,000 pixels on this and then a star ratio of 1%, and then I click from center, and then now if I want to click off this right through here, it's going to build all the lines that are coming off of here. So it's possible that you could do maybe 2 points like this. This would become grid lines that you could do for perspective. If we did 3 of them, it's possible that you could do this for a 3-point perspective as well. Again, this ratio thing that they have on here, if this is up higher, let's just say this is at 50%, it drags the center out really far. So let me make a better example of that. I'll put that at 20, and you can see if I drag out here, you can see how far out it pushes that. So again, you want to put that, I'm putting it at the lowest that I possibly can, and maybe I don't need it 5,000 pixels. Maybe let's just try 1,500 and see what happens. So I click and drag out. You see it doesn't quite go out as far. I'm gonna hit undo. So that's where you'd need to figure out, like, how far out do you want to push this thing. If I did 3,000 pixels and then click from the nose like that, you can see it's pushing out pretty far like that, and it dissipates over time. So again, a higher number is going to give us much thicker lines, and so if I was doing that 5,000 like we had before, you can see, let's not do that, just meant to click. And what did I do this time on it? So let's see, dragging up from center, 5,000, and just, there we go. Yeah, don't want that. I'll hit OK. That's odd. It was doing it before, and so, yeah, I don't know if that was like a bug that just happened or whatever, but yeah. So just keep dragging out. Okay, so that should work for radii. Okay, let's look at a L composition type, and this should be pretty easy. We'll just make a rectangular shape within through here, depending on how you want this thing laid out and how thick the components are that you want. You just drag out a marquee tool like you have here, and depending on how I want to stroke this thing, I could stroke on the inner part of the shape, but if I want to inverse my selection, we can go Control Shift I, and that will inverse our selection. So hit Control Shift I, and you see how we can flip-flop that. So I'm going to stroke this whole thing here like this, and go to Edit, Stroke, like that, right in through there. Okay. And if we want to go to the opposite direction, we could do that as well. So we can go right here like this, and I could do the same thing, edit stroke. So this is the whole frame inside of a frame thing. If you wanted to continue that on, I think you could potentially even keep going with this. Haven't really seen that necessarily as a composition type, but you could potentially do that like this within through here. Yep. So there's that for the L composition type. And then let's just go ahead and hide that, and we'll go ahead and do cross. And again, that one's going to be pretty darn simple. We'd probably want to go back to the line tool, and you could just click and drag out. And we'll just click and drag out and through here like this. Maybe on this image, maybe it would make a little bit more sense if we had something going across through here, at least in this. Yeah. Now if we cropped on this image, maybe change the composition type at that point. But yeah, I think you get the point of that. And then the last one is, this is cross. And then the last one we could do is iconic. And so for this one, if we hit Control H just to bring back some of our guides, if we drag out a line this way and through here, and down through here, and we also have our rules of thirds. So we've got these lines here. Now I'll put this on here. That was U for the hotkey for that. So let's drag down, and I'll drag down here. So I'll hit Control H to hide this. And then we'll just go ahead and drag out from the corner here all the way to the corner here. We'll drag out from the corner here to here. That's not actually going through the center all the way. So it's probably because I didn't make actual squares in through this. So that's why this one's messing up. And I think I understand what my problem was. Hit undo real quick. Get through here. So I really needed to, on this image, drag through the corners to go through the center here, like this. I just raised that thing up like this and through here. So we got that. And then we've got these going from these points here, like this. Coming in through here, actually, right about there. And then right through here, like this. Okay, the last thing I was going to show you for these guides that you have here is Photoshop has the ability to take these and turn these into, if we right click on this area, right click, and not here on the image, but right click over in here in this area, and we can say convert to smart object. Now once we do that, it puts us in a mode where we can transform this. We can hit Control T, and we can resize this thing, we can move it around, we can rotate it, and even if we make it smaller, let's just do it like here on this, and I'm going to put this at 90 degrees like that, and let's just say we're happy with it. I'll put it right over here, and I hit enter. Normally that would shrink the pixels, and that would be fine if we shrunk that down. Now if we go to scale it back up, we'll hit Control T, and I'm going to hold down Shift while I rotate that to get a incremental rotation. And then I want to go scale this thing back up. If we scale something down and scaled it back up, that's usually not good, and it stretches the pixels. But because we made this into a smart object, it's going to basically turns that into its own little file, and it's almost like referenced within the program. So you don't have to worry about pixel stretching and stuff like that. So anytime you've got an image like that that you want to manipulate, you can do that. Let's see here. If I want to take a look at this smart object, and if I want to edit this smart object, I'm just going to double click on this little icon that you see here, like that, and then opens up into a new document. So I can make it the change like this. I can select all, and then I could go edit stroke, and stroke on the inside like this, and that will build our border for us. And then it just looks like I've got a few lines that I need to finish out. So the other thing I could do is just nope, put it on the marquee tool. Sorry, wrong tool. Just go ahead and grab this. I'll go ahead and copy it, paste it, hit Control T, and then I'm going to rotate it holding down Shift, and then rotate this like this, and then pull this down. I'm holding down Shift while I draw that out and hit Enter. And then now I can flatten this down. I'm going to hit Control E to merge that down, and then I can hit Control S to save it. And then that should update in this file over here, like what you see. So that is part of the power of using the smart object. So we just altered that in that other document. Now we can hit Control T. Now I can scale it down, and I can rotate it and do all the things that I want to do with it. And you can see that we never have to worry about us messing up that image. Now, if you want to alter it, you have to go back to that smart object, the document, and then manipulate it at that point. But yeah, I think that will make everything to where you've got a pretty nice tool set for yourself. So you still can even warp this. If I'm holding down Control, I can drag the corners of this, and then I could warp this. And if you wanted to start to use this for some type of guide of stretch perspective or something like that, that's a possibility as well. So just go ahead and hit Enter for that. And so let's go ahead and hit undo, get that back where it's at. But I think that should be enough to give you some ideas on how you could build up at least some guides for yourself for these various composition types. And even looking at this latest thing, you could take some of these composition types that you have and even do something maybe even a little bit more interesting with it, right? So dragging maybe this down and through here, holding down Control on the corners. If you want to manipulate things that way, that could be a possibility for you as well.